I want to talk about raising queens. I know a lot of you are new beekeepers or you're thinking about becoming a beekeeper. I know when I was doing the early days of my beekeeping journey, raising queens was like something I could never wrap my head around. I would never, ever think that I could raise queens. And so I just put it out of my mind that, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that. And it did take me a minute of keeping bees, a few years before I got brave enough to try raising queens. But finally, I did. I turned that corner. So even if you're here tonight and you think, oh, no, I don't even want to hear this, I'm not interested in raising queens, you're going to wish you soaked up this kind of an introductory tonight, because I'm sure you're going to, if you keep bees any long amount of time at all, you're going to be interested. But I want to tell you that raising queens is pretty easy. It really is. It's not that hard. And you're doing it now if you're a beekeeper. Yeah, you're thinking, well, no, I'm not. Yeah, every time you go out there and you see a queen cell, you're kind of raising queens, right? I mean, you didn't have anything to do with it, but it's happening. And so when you raise your own queens, you're still kind of seeing it happen. You're not really raising queens. You're just kind of manipulating the hive to encourage them to raise queens. And so it's not that hard. Believe me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Simply put, you just find a great hive that you like their characteristics, and you're going to need to start a nucleus, like a 5-frame nuke box. And you're going to need some grafting equipment, which I'm going to talk about in just a minute. Take notes. And you need a little mating nuke. Some people are confused. They think if they raise, if you raise 30 queens, that you don't need any mating nukes. But right off the bat, if you raise 30 queens or 10 queens, you're going to need a separate mating nuke for each one of those individual queens. For some reason, and when it comes to honeybees, queens don't get along. I mean, honeybees get along great with each other. They help each other out. They work together. Not queens. Rarely is there more than one queen in a hive. It happens, but if there's more than one queen in the hive, it usually doesn't end well for one of the queens. So you do need an individual mating nuke or box for each queen that you raise to give her time to go get mated and start laying. Okay. So what you want to do first is go out there and just pick the best hive that you love. They're nice. They have a good temperament. They make good honey. They don't have diseases. They're not excessively swarming all the time. They're good honey producers. They overwintered well. And when somebody tells me that's the quality or characteristics of their hive, I want to drive to their house and graft off of that hive. Thank you, Ohio hunters, for the super sticker. I think it's a good idea for all beekeepers to let other beekeepers know that you have a prize-winning hive, and maybe they do want to come and graft some larvae off of your hive to raise queens. So the grafting tools are fun. Now, these look like dentist tools, but they're not. They're actually made for beekeeping. The top image is grafting tools. The one in the middle is the one I use. It's called a Chinese grafting tool. And I've demonstrated it in some of my videos. I've demonstrated it in my online queen rearing course extensively, how to operate it. It picks up a larva out of a cell, out of a, your regular brood cell. It picks it up, and then it allows you to deposit or transfer it over to your queen cup. So that's another tool you'll need is plastic queen cups in your cell bar. You need good lighting. And if you're old like I am and you need reading glasses, you'll need a magnification aid, either good reading glasses or you'll need a magnifying glass to see a little bit better up close. But what we're doing is moving 1-day-old larva into a queen cup, usually a plastic queen cup, and then you cover it with a wet rag to keep it moist. You don't want them to dry out. Now, all of this has gone into more extensively in a booklet that Dr. John Zavishlak and myself wrote many years ago. It's called Raising Quality Queen Bees. To give you a little information about this book, John and I are good friends, have been for years. We've been good friends since 2009, and we work together weekly on beekeeping things, conversations, working out questions that people have about beekeeping and all. We both are part of the Eastern Apicultural Society's Master Beekeeper program. And so we work with that. So anyway, John and I felt like we just couldn't find information on queen rearing, raising queens, that was very step-by-step and practical. So we worked together to put this booklet together. It's available on our website at honeybeesonline.com. You can buy it. It's a nice, colorful, a lot of good pictures in there, a lot of good diagrams. John is an artist. He really did a great job with the diagrams, but it will walk you through it. And most of what I'm going to be sharing tonight is from our booklet. It's published through the University of Arkansas. But the fun part about raising queens is that once you do your grafts and get really good at grafting, it's kind of fun, actually. I think raising queens is the most funnest thing in beekeeping for me. It really is. I can't think of anything I love to do more than raising queens. So you do your grafting, and when you move those grafts over to what I'm holding in my hand there, you can see little tiny plastic cups that I put the larva into, and I'm pushing it down into that starter nucleus. The starter nuke is a 5-frame nuke. That center bar is where all my grafts are going. And you can see what is needed in that starter hive. You need 1 frame of drawn comb, a couple of frames of honey, and 1 of pollen. And then you leave those new grafts that you have in there, which are a 1-day-old larva, you leave them in there for 24 to 36 hours. All those bees in that box are bees that you put in there from other hives. They are nurse bees. You go to other hives, you're 1 or 2 other hives, and you brush off bees that are on open brood. They're feeding open brood. That makes them a nurse bee. They do that. And you sweep about, 6 to 10,000 in that 5-frame nucleus. And they're the ones that are going to be taking care and feeding and raising out, starting these queen grafts. And you only do that for about 24 to 36 hours. Now, I've probably got 60 starter cells on there, but you don't have to use 60. If you don't want to, you can start with 5 or 10. You don't need as many nurse bees either. You're just holding them for that 24 to 36 hours. And after that, you can see here, they're starting them, a little bit of wax on the bottom. And then after that 24 hours, you move them over to a finishing hive, which is just your hive. It's a big hive of yours, 2 deep, maybe put a queen excluder in the middle. You put your grafts in the top. Believe it or not, there's a gap there. There's a lot of bees in there, but there's a gap waiting for me to put that bar filled with 60 queen cells that have been started. And since it's separated beneath it with a queen excluder, all the bees up there begin to raise out to finish. That's why we call it a finishing hive. They finish those cells all the way out. So we have to kind of watch the calendar, because we need to make sure we pull them all out of there before they emerge and kill each other. So around day 10 or day 13 from when the egg was laid, 10 days from when we grafted, we pull the bar out, and then we begin to put the cells that Korea is holding. Korea's here helping us tonight, actually, but that's the picture of Korea. Maybe some of her grafts. She's a great queen producer, but you can see her holding all of those queens, and you pick those off, twist them off, and you put them into your mating nukes. And so in the mating nukes is where they're going to live. You can put 3 together like I done here, a frame or 2 of bees in there that are queenless. Give them that little cell. They're going to raise that cell out, and that's going to be the home for the new queen. And she's going to take a mating flight, get mated, come back, start laying in her little box, and you're going to evaluate it, make sure she's laying good and good brood pattern. And then once you see that all is well, then that's when you can use her as a mated queen in some of your operation, or you can actually sell her or find a way to use her, sell her to other beekeepers. So that's a really quick overview of how it works, and I love it. I remember once being at a university, and I was in the lab doing something else, but somebody there knew that I raised queens, and they were doing some research, and they were perplexed by a problem they're having. And they wanted me to chime in on helping them solve a solution to some of the things they were doing in raising queens. I love that. I'm not trying to brag, but I love it. I know a lot about it. And I would love for you to learn how to raise queens. It's not something that you have to do perfectly in the beginning. Carrie helped me get started in it. And in the beginning, I wasn't good at grafting. It took me a while to get better at it. And I just stayed persistent and mastered the art of raising queens. It really does give you a lot of leverage, by the way. If you can leverage yourself to raise your own queens, then, you know, you're not so stressed out when you don't have enough queens to go around. Sometimes you don't have to wait for somebody to ship you a queen. And I've heard already several people have told me this year that they ordered a queen, but then the shipping company or the queen company said they couldn't meet their demands and that it wasn't coming yet. And so, you know, when you do all of that, you're kind of nervous about, what if I need a queen? How do I get a new one? Or if you're like me and you like to replace your queens every year or two, it can be costly. If you have a lot of hives and you want to replace a lot of queens, it's going to cost you a lot of money. So you can raise your own queens, and it gives you the freedom to replace your queens regularly, more often, like once a year, gives you a bit of a leverage. And it's fun for the whole family. So if you're new to beekeeping, don't push it or brush it off to be something that you'll never do or it's too complicated. It really isn't. Like I said, bees are doing it anyway under your watch. It's just allowing you to kind of control it and manipulate the frame so that it happens under your watchful eye and on the time schedule that you want. And you've heard me say, if you haven't heard me say this before, I will say it. But there was a moment where I was really far behind on some bills, really far behind. And I wasn't sure how I was going to pay these big mounting bills. And the only thing I had working at my advantage was, at that time, I was really producing a lot of queens. And so that summer, I made it a goal to produce almost 100 queens a week in order, I don't know how many weeks I did that, but quite a few, in order to pay those big bills off. And so it can be something that can make you a little extra money, or if you really go at it, if you're a go-getter, you're good at beekeeping, you can make a lot of money because, you know, queens sell, what are they, $40, $45 now plus shipping. So, you know, you can sell a bug for $45. How much honey you're going to have to sell to make $45 profit, you know? So be thinking about that. It might be something to help you. Some of you might be thinking, oh, I might finally make some money off this hobby. It might help you break even if you sell a bunch of queens, right? No, it can be something that can support a hobby or push you into sideliner a little bit and help you expand. Or if you're just tired of your job and you want a little extra income, you know, it can be something that can help with that. Queen rearing. So yeah, I think it's a hoot. And I used to offer queen rearing classes on site here, and many of you are begging me to offer those again, and I haven't said no yet. But the problem is, every time I kind of think about it, I'm worried that it will rain. Dr. Zavishlak and I was teaching a class here, and we had to go out and get some frames that had young larvae on it. And at that moment, a violent thunderstorm rolled in, and he and I are both out there going through hives. It wasn't the rain, it wasn't the wind, it was the lightning that was horrific, scary. So it's kind of hard to plan around storms when you plan a weekend where you're teaching people how to raise queens. But I haven't given up the idea. But I think it's better to take my online course. You can pause it, it's yours forever. You can hang on to it and learn it that way. Okay. Well, let's jump into a time for questions tonight. I always want to give a lot of time for you guys to ask me questions, and we are going to have a lightning round of rapid fire questions a little bit later too. And don't forget, got a cool giveaway coming up, and also an announcement about another giveaway. Okay. Hey, Joshua, last live stream, you mentioned colonies sometimes killing off the queen during heavy nectar flows to be able to store more resources. Can you elaborate on that more? I was in a I was in a bee yard with 2 or 3 well-known commercial beekeeping people, and I got in on that conversation. They had in their hands about 100, 200 queens that another person just delivered. Here's your queens. And I remember the commercial beekeeper saying, oh, thank goodness, because all of my colonies have such a heavy nectar flow, they're killing all their queens. And so when this nectar flow kind of calms down, we're going to have to requeen them. And so, I kind of picked up on that. I started observing some of the things too. And one of the things I noticed most powerful was there was a outstanding beekeeper. I think he holds the world record for producing the most comb honey, or he did at one time. His name was Mr. Killian, and he lives not too far. He's deceased now, but he lives not too far from me in Paris, Illinois. And I was privileged to meet him and tour his place when he was going at it. But he and I spoke directly, and he encouraged me that if I really wanted to make a lot of honey, to take the queen out of the hive. Now, hold on. I don't think you should do that. But this is the way he set the record. He would pull his queens out, and that would allow the bees to make a lot of honey. His reasoning was they didn't have to put a lot of resources into taking care of brood, feeding, and metabolizing it into royal jelly and such. They could just store a lot of the honey. And so I experimented with that, and you all know it works, because if your queen's not in there, instead of places where there would be egg and brood and such, they're backfilling with honey. You get honey bound really quick. But if you manage that with, if you really want to take a swing at it, you got to be an experienced beekeeper, because brood is the breath of the hive. You can't hold your breath forever. You need brood, okay? Bees die every 45 days. I know that they're kind of layered in their timing of death, but you got to stay at it. I've taken too long to answer one question, but I'm excited about that. So that's how that works. How soon can I raise queens from 2 nukes? Is that something that can only be done in the spring from an overwintered hive? You do need enough bees where you can gather up some nurse bees, either from those nukes or from those overwintered colonies. Like I said, it depends on how many you want to raise. I'm raising 60 at a time in a nuke box. I need about 10,000 nurse bees, about a package of nurse bees. But if you want to go smaller, you can do smaller. I would say start small, see how it goes, and expand it. Yeah. Ohio Hunters. I installed 2 new packages 2 weeks ago. When I fed them yesterday, I found a different queen and a handful of bees killed. Could it be a swarm that tried to move into my hive? No swarm cells. Yeah, I tell you what, when we try to figure out why bees are doing what they're doing and why and what happened, sometimes there is a mystery that is unsolvable. You just can't figure it out. It could be that a queen accidentally flew into that. Sometimes, when we're raising a lot of queens, the queens that go out and mate, they fly back to what they think is their home. They're confused. Wrong mating nuke, and it happens. But it could be a swarm moved in, they attacked. It could be a strange foreign queen moved in. Something shifted, and it's hard to say. That's interesting. Oh, Bernard, first time grafting queens, ended up with a lot of comb around the cells. Should it be cut out, and how to prevent it? Yes, that happened to me when I started doing that too. And what you're seeing is you're doing really good at getting a lot of bees that are good at building out cells. They're charged up with a lot of nutrition, so they can metabolize the wax, and you want them to be able to do that. But what you have to do sometimes is, in that starter hive, I had to sometimes give them a half-drawn frame that wasn't fully drawn out to make them put more wax in the starter hive so they wouldn't put so much in there. I did dig them out without hurting the cell. Yes, that's the way I did it. She's never going to emerge through all that comb. You got to get down to the cell. That's a good observation. Yeah, interesting. Hey, Caleb, brand new beekeeper. Welcome. All of us welcome you into the great community and the great hobby of beekeeping. I accidentally put a super on top of my brood box deep. Can I add a brood box in between both now? Oh, absolutely. No harm done. Yeah, that's no big deal. It's all good. If your queen jumped up in there, you may want to get her out. If you didn't use a queen excluder, you might have to manipulate her back down into your 2 brood boxes. But yeah, that's fine. That's no big deal. Don't worry about that. I think some of you over worry or overthink about bees too much. My hive swarmed for the 3rd time, and there are 2 queens in that swarm. Is that common? I put them into 2 new hives. No, it's not common, but it does happen. It could be 2 virgins. It could be 2 queens. Like I said, I am surprised that so many people become bothered when bees don't do what's written in our books. But we write down in books what is most common. We don't put down what is the most uncommon things to happen. Anything's possible like that. And it stumps us. Yeah. Hey, Doug, when supering with undrawn frames, should I put a couple of drawn frames from the super below to prime them to draw? Yes, if you have all the same size frames. For me, I have larger deep frames in my brood area, so I can't really bait a honey super because my honey supers are medium size. But if the size works, you can actually do that. It doesn't hurt a thing. Yep, you got to wrestle with that size difference. If I raise my own queens and replace them every year, does it reduce the risk of swarming, and by how much? It does reduce the risk of swarming. I don't know by how much. By my observation, a wild shot would be 10 to 20%, because the queen has more queen mandibular pheromone, kind of holds it all tight together a little bit better. Yeah, it does help a lot. Hi, David. I'm from Southwest Kansas. I got my first package 2 weeks ago. My queen is looking great so far. When should I start looking for swarm cells? We don't worry too much, Joel, about that early package of bees swarming that year. Having said that, they can if they overcrowd. They don't have the instinct so much to reproduce because they are technically a swarm in a package when you get them. So they're not wanting to reproduce. It's only that 2nd year they really want to reproduce. But you can still crowd them and they'll swarm by being overcrowded. I wouldn't worry about it. They should not produce swarm cells if you give them room to grow. Not on a new package. Evening, David. Any reason for a hive would only become extremely aggressive after you get into the bottom box? They're fine up top, but get very angry when you get to the bottom. Oh, that is so common. It happens to all of us. I remember the first time I started beekeeping a million years ago when I was in my 30s. I never wanted to go to the bottom box just because of that. The reason that is, I believe, is because you've had the hive open longer. There's more bees that are flying around and kind of spreading the word that things aren't normal. And they're just tired of you keeping the hive open that long. When you open the first box, it hasn't been open too long. So the longer you hold a hive open, the more defensive the bees are going to get. And I think it's important to learn how to inspect your bees rapidly. Yep, that's probably what's going on there. That's a good question. I've never been asked that question. Hey, Amanda, nice. What is the longest to wait for the colony to raise their own queen after going queenless? Weather has not been cooperating. Most of the brood has now hatched. I did see a virgin queen, but no eggs yet. Yeah, be patient with that. I think if you see a virgin queen, all is going to be well. When a hive goes queenless, they raise a new queen. It's going to take 16 days from the egg until that queen emerges. It's going to take a week for her, maybe to take a mating flight, and another week for her to start laying. So you're a month out until you see eggs. So be patient with that. Yep, it'll happen. That's hard to be patient. Hey, Jason. David, I have a newly returned mated queen and saw her today. Maybe 2 to 3 days newly mated. Is it normal for eggs to be coming out of her abdomen while she's walking across the frames? Absolutely, Jason. I've made videos of that happening. She is just dropping eggs all over the place. She has not learned the art of placing them rhythmically into the back of the cells. And that's actually the back. We call it the bottom. I guess back is the right scientific word. Bottom makes sense, but she just hasn't figured that out. And sometimes the bees will just eat those eggs for protein. Yeah, that's very common. She's an egg laying machine. Hey, Andy, I want to try to raise 10 queens or so, simple as possible, using cloak board. Yeah, there's a cloak board down there. How critical is it to remove open larvae from the queenless part when you place your graft cells in? I think it's really important. You want your bees to focus on your cells. I think it helps so much. I mean, it may not be absolutely essential, but I want that. Yep. So that's covered in the booklet that John and I wrote too. Yep. That booklet's available if you don't want to buy it off our website. It is free PDF download from the University of Arkansas. It's a little hard to find it, but it is on their website. Hey, Gene, love your teachings. Thank you. Got a question. What do you do if you see a couple of earwigs under your inner cover? And what are your thoughts on inner covers? The earwigs never do pose any kind of a threat. They're just walking around. They look weird. They look like they have looks like they have a split tail and all, but they're fine. They don't go into the hive. They're just under the dark crevices of your inner cover and such. My thoughts on the inner cover, I've made video after video after video, and it's kind of a funny thing when people ask me, why don't you use inner covers? Because I've spent probably 25 videos explaining that, and people still ask me. And the only reason I don't is because when I got involved with commercial beekeepers when I was younger, they didn't use inner covers. They used migratory lids and ran successful operations. It was just one more piece that I knew I could do without. And they do serve some purposes. They have a little circle there for a bee escape to get honey out, but with small hive beetle, we hate to do that now. But they can help with ventilation. They can help the top not stick to the next bottom deep. They have their benefits, but you've watched my videos. I use plastic lids. I get along really fine without just one less piece of equipment to have to handle. So maybe if I had to say why I don't use them, I'm lazy and don't want to handle them. Don't need them, don't have to. Yeah. I watched your Demarest split video, and you watched me write cursive backward really fast and made an attempt last week. I have just one super between two deeps. I did an inspection today and remove over 11 queen cells. Is one super okay, or do I need two? It sounds like a lot's going on there. Why don't you try two? Give them a little bit of room there. Yeah, that I do say this though. Even though I like the Demarest method, I had to learn it in order to study to be a master beekeeper. That was something we feared that would be on the test, and it might have been. But so I had to learn that it's a really good way to prevent swarming, keep a hive as one. But I will say it's not easy to do for a new beekeeper. It's a lot going on in frame manipulation. It's overwhelming, I believe, to a new beekeeper. So I'm not a real pusher of the Demarest method on new beekeepers. It is a bit confusing. With experience, it's not, but in the first few years, it is. Hey, Jake. Performed my first split today. Well, congratulations. We need a way, like in the military, when you accomplish great things, you get these, decorations. We need something like that on our bee suit, first split little thing, like Boy Scouts would give you. I love that idea, don't you? I took 5 frames in the queen from my strong hive. That's what I do. Set them up with a feeder and put a wood sheet in front of the door. That sounds really good. How long do I leave it there? At least a week. You saw me do that in this spring. I had a big heavy piece of metal and it worked beautifully. I don't think I lost one forager. Went back to the mothership. I was excited. Yeah, leave it for a week, Jake. Is it true that when a colony swarms that an unmated queen will go higher in trees with the swarm versus unmated queen will go on lower branch trees? Well, let me read that again. When a colony swarms that an unmated queen will go higher in trees with the swarm versus an unmated queen will go on lower branch. That's the same thing. I think you might have not meant unmated both times. Anyway, swarms consist of mated queens. So maybe you mean if they swarm with an unmated queen, a virgin queen, that they're going to land differently on a branch. I don't know. I'm trying to think really quickly in my head if that really does make a difference. Mated queens fly really high. I know that. I don't know. How about that? Good question, though. It's rare to see them swarm with a virgin queen, too, unmated queen. Just added a super with queen excluder in a new hive from my nuke. Can I move anything from the bottom to the top, such as honey panel, to encourage comb and honey production? If your boxes are the same size, yes. But if your deep box is 9 1/8 size frame and your supers are 6 1/8 size frame, they're not going to fit in the boxes. But if the boxes work, you can bait them with some drawn comb up there. Yeah. It's called checkerboarding, especially in supers. Yeah. If you didn't watch today's video, I published a video this afternoon, and I actually did some checkerboarding in a brood box last week. In 7 days, they pulled a whole frame out, checkerboarded it in the brood area. And I got a little greedy. I put 2 more in there to checkerboard. We'll see next week how that goes. Nectar Pirates had to take a queen. Let me check my time here. I can sit here all night. Okay, we're good. How to take a queen from my resource nook to replace one of my big hives. My hands tremble a bit at times and had a hard time picking her up. Do you have any suggestions on how to overcome this issue? Not really. I understand what you're saying on the trembling hands. I think bracing your hand is a good idea. You know, bracing your arm, finding a place to rest your forearm to bring stability. You know, my hands don't shake or tremble, but I still like to brace and hold steadiness just handling queens sometimes. So I understand what you're saying. Try to brace yourself more. Hey, Rich, good to see you. Thank you for your donation tonight, and I appreciate your comment. Hi, David. Second year beekeeper here. Is there, so you get a little 2-year pin, you know, like on Star Trek, you have the little pins, whether you're So second year beekeeper, is there a specific time of day that's best when doing my hive inspection? Yes, I think so. I like to do it between 10 and 2. You got to pick the hottest time of the day. But that's when most of the bees are foraging. So a lot of the older bees are the ones that will kind of give you the most trouble as far as stinging and being a little more defensive. So if they're out foraging and such, they're not as many people home. That's my theory. Seems to work for me. Yep. When is the latest you should keep your swarm traps up? I've heard swarms in July isn't worth a fly. I've had several traps out and don't know when to take them down. You know, it's interesting. My friend Steve Rapaski, if you know him, he's in Pennsylvania. He's an EAS master beekeeper, and he works with me in the field for testing candidates. Steve's a great guy. He's written some books with Larry Connor, and he wrote a book on swarm control. And in his book, he identifies that in different states, he shows when bees will swarm again in the fall. In August, Illinois, we have bees that swarm again in the fall, which to me is suicide. You know, we have winter coming and they're trying to make a new home in just a month or two. It's not going to go well. So you might keep them up though for those fall swarms. Why not? What do you have to lose? I think they're worth more than a fly. But that's the point, is it's going to be hard to get them built up for winter. Yeah. Hey, William, I had to merge 3 2-frame nukes today. 1 queen laying, other 2 were duds. They weren't happy. Should I wait 2 weeks before going back? Yeah, I would. Yeah. You know, when bees get grouchy because of manipulation, time really heals a lot, doesn't it? I mean, just let them kind of settle down and get into working their rhythm, and they'll be fine. They'll get better. Yep. Better for you, isn't it? Hey, David. Nice to meet another David. Thank you for the comments about the teaching. What is your take on mite-resistant queens and colonies? We're making headways. VSH, varroa sensitive hygienic queens. You hear a lot about that. I did that work in those projects. Gosh, I hate to say how many years ago, 10, 20 years ago, we were using liquid nitrogen and soup can 3-inch circles, trying to figure out which colonies were more hygienic. Now we have the odor testing and such like that. But Harvo and Corey Stevens, Jeff Harris, big names in that field that do it now. I mean, other big names I don't recall right now, but the work's being done. It's not as successful that I would love for it to be, because I'd like for it to be 100%, but it is improving. You can find some people that have bees or queens that are a little bit more mite resistant than not. So it does help. By the way, the vaccinated queen is only for American foul brood. Some people think that getting a vaccinated queen is vaccinating against other things. The company does suggest, though they're not certified in that area, they do suggest, I think the company's name's Dolan, but they suggest that maybe some evidence that deformed wing is reduced as well. But right now they're only, I think, authorized that it's going to be for American foul brood. So don't think that you're getting a vaccinated queen against all things out there. It's against one thing. And if you don't have a problem with American foul brood, you're not really gaining much. And it is not, I mean, it's a vaccine, but it's more of a transgenerational immune primer against American foul brood. Talking about queens and VSH. All right. Question. Now let's do one more and then we'll do spin the wheel. One more question, and then we'll get more questions after this one, and then some giveaways. Don't go too far away. David, does it matter what side of the bottom board is up, shallow side or deep side? Very good question. I love talking about this. A lot of people don't know this. In fact, I don't even think they make bottom boards to respect that anymore. But in the old days, our solid bottom boards were 3/4 inches opening, or what am I trying to say? The side of the top side of it was 3/4 inch, the rim. So if you wanted the summer entrance, you would use that. In the wintertime, we would take our hive off. We would flip our bottom board because the bottom side rim was 3/8 of an inch. So it reduced the opening. But I noticed that a lot of the wooden bottom boards today don't have a backstop on the 3/8 side. If they do, you could rotate it. But as time went on, we noticed that we no longer rotated the bottom board. Instead, we kind of went to entrance reducers. And so we kept the 3/4 entrance there without having to rotate the bottom board. Now we just can rotate the little entrance reducer. Isn't that amazing that, time goes on? Let me grab my wheel over here. Time goes on and things change, don't they, in beekeeping? Yeah, and if you don't know it, if you're new to beekeeping, you don't really know that things have changed. Why won't this fit on the screen anymore? All right, there we go. Let's see if I'm ready for this. Oh boy. All right, I guess so. Looks pretty good. Okay, let's give it. Am I ready? Okay. Here we go. Spin to win. There are some giveaways on here, and if it lands on personal, then you have the ability to ask any of us a personal question. Oh, it went on spin again. Well, how about that? The wheel wasn't ready, and it had to go around the horn again. Oh, this is a lot of fun. One time I had a waggle dance on there, and I had to waggle dance. Oh, it went to a giveaway. When it lands on the Beak Squad sticker, we are going to have a giveaway, and our giveaway tonight is my online queen rearing course. If you already have it, I know many of you have already bought my online courses and worked through them. Thank you. But if you haven't had a chance to get into the queen rearing course online, you're going to really enjoy it. It's going to go into really in-depth teaching on how to raise queens. And many people have taken it, said they really enjoyed it. Hashtag class. So in the comments, all you have to do is leave the little hashtag symbol and the word class, lowercase. And that way, let's see, somebody do it capitalized. No, I saw something there, but hashtag class. And then we'll spin in just a moment, and you'll be the winner. Somebody will be the winner of my online queen rearing course. and you will be able to be that much more advanced in, actually raising your own queens. That'd be a lot of fun. Hey, I want to read you an email that I was sent. I won't mention the person's name. I don't think he would mind. Yeah. Listen to this while we're collecting your hashtag class comments. Dear David, I went out a month ago, was just going to do a quick peek at my hives. I put on my jacket and veil, but no smoke because I was just going to look in. Got carried away removing queen cells. The colony must have sensed this. They attacked. Both arms were black with bees, even though my suit even through my suit, each arm probably got 20 stings. Needless to say, I now always go fully armed to look at my hives, jacket, veil, and smoke. What was your worst accident like this? I've had a lot of moments like that when I've been stung. I think it's just a word of caution for all of us. We always think, oh, I'm just going to go out there for a moment. I don't do that anymore. Sometimes I want to. Oh, I just need to go out there and do this one simple thing. I won't even be lifting a frame. I just need to take the top off, and it doesn't work well. There's not enough time for me to tell you my funny story, is it? No, there's not. I'll put that on the wheel one time, tell you my funniest story. Okay, Robbie, let's draw the winner for tonight's online queen rearing course. Who is going to win the course tonight? Good to see so many of you here tonight. Yeah, there's the booklet you can win tonight, and we'll ship that out to you. I'll even autograph it. Oh, I need to take it off, don't I? Oh, there we go. Robbie wants some screen time there, I guess. Yeah. It's hard for them to do their job when I can't do my job. All right, there we go. All right, let's see. Look at the names going by. I know many of you. There goes Shannon and Alex and Gail and Rhonda, Ed, Ernie, Ken. Who's going to win the online queen rearing course? Well, there you go, Curotech Inc. And be sure and email us. You see it scrolling across the bottom. Email us within 24 hours at beaksquadwinner@gmail.com. That way you can tell us where to send the online queen rearing. No, wait a minute. Oh, well, we email it to you. We send you a link to the class. Nothing to mail, but you need to tell us your email address. There you go. I'll get it figured out here in a minute. Okay, that's great. Let's take I want to go into some rapid fire questions. So I'm not going to answer them long time. I'm just going to kind of answer them in one sentence. Are you ready? You guys just have to rapidly throw questions at me. When bees swarm a second time, is the second queen already mated? 99% of the time, that's a virgin after swarm. No, she's not. What's the maximum number of hives you'd feel comfortable having before you started raising extra queens? 2. Oh, maximum? Minimum. Minimum is 2. 2 hives. If raising only 5 to 10 queens, can they be raised in a starter hive only? Absolutely, yes, they can be. They're going to have to be put in individual mating nooks, but yeah, one single starter hive will do that. I have many of your feeder boards I have only used to feed syrup. How do you know when to feed pollen patties? I mix the feeding additives that come with protein in the sugar water. That's a better way to get the protein into the bee's gut. Gary, I think that works a little bit better. Have you ever used liquid smoke to calm bees? I've tested the liquid smokers for different companies. So far, they have not blown my socks off compared to the old traditional smoker, but I haven't tried them all. Can a hive swarm because they got too hot North Texas? No, they don't swarm, George. They abscond. All of them leave usually. Yeah. Swarming is different than leaving because of environmental problem. That's absconding. Hi, David. 4 of my hives came out of winter with plenty of honey. Should I feed sugar water until the honey flow starts? It doesn't hurt. It helps build foragers up. Why not? Yep. I think it's a good idea. Should I requeen a spring swarm right before fall? I don't think so. I think those spring swarms have good queens in them. I wouldn't go to the trouble. I'd go with what you have. Can I trap the queen and raise the queen cells in the same hive. That's going to be risky. I'm not saying it's impossible. Her pheromones are going to be a blocker, though. I'd rather not try that. I don't think it's a good idea. You got to, the starter hive has to be hopelessly queenless. Did my first ever split today. I put a board in front to reorientate flights. How long do I leave the board on? We had that one about a week. Yep, Jake, about a week. Queen issue, but it's too cold to pull frames. What do I do? Your queen issue will be there when it warms up. If it's not there, the issue solved itself. Wait for a warmer day and solve the issue. If I put 2 empty supers on the hive early in spring, will it likely reduce swarms? It depends, probably not. They have a reproductive instinct to swarm. And if it's undrawn foundation, that undrawn foundation is a desert. It doesn't give them any more room until they get it drawn out. So probably not. Not a guarantee. Oh, hi, Sunshine. Good to see you. In my first year, when should I start treating for mites? Yesterday. Soon as possible. Do a mite check. Let's roll on that, Joel. Right now. David, do you ever use gabled roofs on your hives? Do they really ventilate better? I have. We used to manufacture and sell those. We used to sell the copper top lids and all that, garden hives and all. I don't think it's needed. I think bees are really good at ventilating their tops. Okay, that's enough for now. I got to do one more thing before we go. I got to tell you about an upcoming giveaway that we're going to have in a few weeks. I haven't decided when we're going to do it yet, but look at this. Speaking of these gable top hives, we're going to give away this beautiful copper colored top cover. Look at that. Isn't that awesome? That is gorgeous. We're going to give that away in maybe next week, maybe the week after that, no more than 3 weeks in the future. So be sure and be at my live streams each Thursday at 7 p.m. because I want a winner to take that one. If you really want one of those, we're working with an Amish company in Rockville, Indiana, I think. Stevie is called King Bee. And if you're in that area over there in, am I saying it right? Rockville, Indiana, Turkey Run State Park area. He has a nice store there with my products in it. And he actually, I think, makes those there. If you don't win one, you can drop by, look him up. Look under, I think it's King Bee in Indiana, Rockville, Indiana. But that's going to be coming up pretty soon and another live stream. Yeah, it's going to be great. All right. Let's do 2 more questions. Got time for 2. By the way, every question I don't answer tonight, I'll answer next week in my green answer video. So if your question didn't get answered, stick around, it will. Rockville, Indiana. Yeah, Stevie is great. Do we graft on day 4? It depends on what you start counting from, but you graft a 1-day-old larvae. And so I always, that's usually about 3-4 days. Yeah, you're right. But it's a 1-day-old larvae from when the egg was laid. What's the latest time of the year do you graft queens? I live in Illinois, and I've gotten by doing it as late as August. It's harder the further you get into the season because you have less drones in the DCA. But as long as you have drones out there, you can keep doing it. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. It works. Kevin, best time of day to walk away with a split? Oh, I don't think it really matters. You're foragers in, foragers out. I mean, I would say do it when it's comfortable for you. I don't think it matters a whole lot to the bees. I wouldn't worry about it. Got time for one more. Carol, you made it. What's your thoughts on a buckfast queen? I love the whole buckfast. I love the idea of the buckfast queen, its origin. I love how it started, and Brother Adam did a great job. I have a video of Brother Adams doing his work in a monastery in the UK, I think. And he had such a desire to find a really good queen, and he died an old man, and he wasn't really happy with what he resulted from. But anyway, the Buckfast queen originated with brother Adam, and it's awesome if you can find people that do it. I think it's, what is it, out of Canada? They have a pretty tight control of it in Canada, I think. And if you can figure out the legal way to obtain one or something, I think it's cool. I used to use Buckfast in my genetics here. Yeah. All right, guys, it's time to go. Wow, it's been awesome. Thank you, all of you that have been so great. I want to thank you all for your contributions to the live stream tonight. Thank you for participating, and hundreds and hundreds of you crowded in the room tonight. It's great seeing you all here in the chat. Hey, there's Patrick's, my videographer and friend. Nice to see you in here tonight. So it's a ball. I just want to let you guys know that if you haven't watched one of my recent videos, I had a coffee time at the end where I talked about encouraging people, inspiring people. And if you haven't noticed yet, I'm pumped and excited because I get a chance to make beekeeping videos for you. I'm working hard for you, but also I'm feeling like I want to encourage you in life. I want to inspire you beyond beekeeping. I want to be your friend. I want to smother you with kindness. I want you to feel good about who you are and enjoy beekeeping. And that's kind of one of the things that I do. So I want you to know I appreciate you. I love you to the moon and back. I count you as one of my friends. Thank you for sending good love and kindness and comments back my way when I make videos and all. I appreciate it so much. If you do get a chance, the best way you can support me is by watching my videos. I work hard to make videos for people. The more views they get, the more they get circulated to more beekeepers who have not heard of me before, and they can get some training. So I'm not about just trying to collect more numbers. I'm about getting to more beekeepers to help them. So anything you can do to promote my channel is much appreciated, and it's great. So again, Jessica, Carrie, Robbie, thank you guys so much tonight. And I'll see all of you guys on the next video.